I'm not worried. Careful. Okay. Okay.
Hey, welcome again to everyone on Zoom, everyone in the room, everyone on YouTube. So happy to be here to celebrate Shabbat. I'm going to share our prayer book to the screen. I'm also going to mute everybody. And before we begin, let's just take a moment. Let's take a moment to let go of whatever is hanging around from the week, whatever aggravation or concern, and enter into a time of Shabbat peace. We are going to begin our service on page 124, and that's in the bracketed numbers, the blue bracketed numbers. We enter this sanctuary to welcome Shabbat. Within these walls, we sit surrounded by numberless generations. Our ancestors built the synagogue as a visible sign of God's presence in their midst. Throughout our long history and our endless wanderings, it has endured, a beacon of truth, love, and justice for all humanity. Its presence guided our ancestors to lives of righteousness, holding up to them a vision of their truest selves. Now we, in our turn, come into this sanctuary to affirm the sacredness of our lives. May we enter this place in peace. May holiness wrap around us as we cross its threshold, whether in our physical bodies or whether through the miracles of technology. Weariness, doubt, the flaws within our human hearts, the harshness of the weak, let these drop away at the door. In the brightness of Shabbat, let peace settle upon us as we lift our hearts in prayer. Is there anyone who would like to do the blessing over the candles? Janice? Sure, come on up. Page 121 is where there's a reading, and then page 120 is the blessing. Oh, you need the microphone, sorry.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we, in our own day, be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotah, v'tzivanu lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. And I would like to commend you on your use of the mic. Well done. We turn now to the Kiddush on page 123. Is there anyone who would like to read the Kiddush for us, either here in person or on Zoom? Anybody? Okay, looks like we're going to do it just in Hebrew today. Oh, no. Linda Kushner-Silverman raised her hand. Go ahead, Linda, unmute yourself, please.
Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, creator of the fruit of the vine. Praise to you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who finding favor with us, sanctified us with his mitzvot. In love and favor, you made the holy Shabbat our heritage as a reminder of the work of creation. At first among our sacred days, it recalls the exodus from Egypt. You chose us and set us apart from the peoples. In love and favor, you have given us your holy Shabbat as an inheritance. Praise to you, Adonai, who sanctifies Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho b'ahava v'ratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tekila למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת, אותנו קידשת, מכל העמים, בשבת קודשך, באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. Amen.
You may be seated. We turn now to page 142 in the bracketed numbers, the blue numbers, for Shalom Aleichem, when we think about the angels of Shabbat and invite them to come and to be with us and to bless us and then to leave.
And I just want to say a quick word. We haven't opened with a Shalom Aleichem in a while. And this Shalom Aleichem is set to, I just had to let everybody know, the first Yiddish song, the first song that I ever was able to sing. And my mother, who came from England, and she was Orthodox, and her father was a cantor, and her uncle was an opera singer. She came to this country, and the first thing she had to do was buy herself a piano, and she practiced all the time. And then when I got older, all she wanted me to do was try and sing. And all I wanted to do was play ball. I didn't want anything to do with singing. And she said, well, at least learn how to sing. Tambala, 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 laika. Tambala, 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 laika. Tambala, laika, spielbala, laika. Tambala, laika, freilich soll sein. Russian Jewish folk song, a love song. And that song I loved singing. And then after that, I never sang until college. And so tonight, this Shalom Aleichem is to the melody of Tambala Laika. Shalom Aleichem, Malachi Hasharet, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Bochem LeShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Baruch Hu LeShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seitchem LeShalom, Malachi Hashalom, Malachi Elyon, Mi Melech Malachi HaMalachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
We turn to page 145 for Lamdani.
Anini Elohai Barech v'yitpalel al soda lekalmel al noga pri bashel al hacharot hazot lirot lachush לנשום, לדעת, לייחל, להיכשל, לראות, לחוש, לנשום, לדעת, לייחל, להיכשל. את שפתותיי, ברכה ושיר הלל, בהתחדש זמנך, עם בוקר ועם ליל, לבל יהיה יומי, היום כתמו שלשום, לבל יהיה עליי. הרגל, לבל יהיה עליי יומי הרגל, לראות, לחוש, לנשום, לדעת, לייחל, להיכשל. לראות, לחוש, לנשום, לדעת, לייחל, להיכשל.
The Baruch Hu is on page 146. I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
Lai 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 Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
On page 148, I invite you to read with me. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, ruler of the universe, who speaks the evening into being, skillfully opens the gates, thoughtfully alters the time and changes the seasons, and arranges the stars in their heavenly courses according to plan. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light, transforming day into night and distinguishing one from the other. Adonai Tsebaot is your name. Ever-living God, may you reign continually over us into eternity. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on evening. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Page 150.
Ahavat olam b'divrei ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם לעולם ועד. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. כי כן חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נהגה יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל, אוהב עמו ישראל.
The Shema is on page 152.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed.
You may be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקישרתם להיות על ידיך, והיו לי תותפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Emet. Page 157 in the blue bracketed numbers. I invite you to read with me. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, that there is no way to get from here to there except by joining hands, marching together. Page 158.
מי כמוך ביילים אדוני, מי כמוך נהיית בקודש, מי תהילות תוספלת, נורא תהילות תוספלת, מלכותך ראו בניך, חוקי הים לפני משה ומרים, זה אלי, ענו ואמרו, אדוני Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, B'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, B'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmat tzidkenu vohinu. Ufros aleinu sukat shlomecha, ushmat tzidkenu vohinu. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, V'hamidenu Malkeinu lechaim. Baruch atah Adonai, haporeis sukkot shalom, aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim.
Page 162.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et haShabbat, la'azod et haShabbat, לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, לעולם. בני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, וביום השביעי שבת מי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת, לדורותם ברית עולם.
The tefillah begins on page 164. I invite you, if you're able, to rise.
Adonai, Sefatai tiftachu fi hagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohi Avoteinu v'Yamoteinu, Elohi Avraham, Elohi Yitzchak, v'Elohi Yaakov, Elohi Sarah, Elohi Rivka, Elohi Rachel, v'Elohi Leah.
האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים, וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר, מושיע מגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם, בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, בחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, צומח נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך, מלך ממית ומחיי אומץ מהישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
You may be seated. Page 173. I invite you to read with me. Disturb us, Adonai, ruffle us from our complacency, make us dissatisfied with the peace of ignorance, the quietude which arises from a shunning of the horror, the defeat, the bitterness, and the poverty, physical and spiritual, of humans. Shock us, Adonai, deny to us the false Shabbat, which gives us the delusions of satisfaction amid a world of war and hatred. Wake us, O God, and shake us from the sweet and sad poignancies rendered by half-forgotten melodies and rubric prayers of yesteryears. Make us know that the border of the sanctuary is not the border of living, and the walls of your temples are not shelters from the winds of truth, justice, and reality. Disturb us, O God, and vex us. Let not your Shabbat be a day of torpor and slumber. Let it be a time to be stirred and spurred to action. Baruch atah Adonai, Mikadesh HaShabbat. Page 175. You are with us in our prayer, our love, and our doubt, in our longing to feel your presence and do your will. You are the still, clear voice within us. Therefore, O God, when doubt troubles us, when anxiety makes us tremble, when pain clouds the mind, we look inward for the answer to our prayers. There may we find you, and there find courage, insight, and endurance. And let our worship bring us closer to one another, that all Israel and all who seek you may find new strength for your service. Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod. Page 176 is Modim, and before we get to the blessing itself, does anybody have something to share today that you're feeling grateful for? You can put it in the chat if you're on Zoom, or say it out loud, whether you're in person or on Zoom. Anybody? Freema.
Okay, So we celebrated Debbie's birthday twice, actually. It was very lovely. The first time, her and I, the second time, my son and daughter in law, and we all went together. It was very lovely. And during the week was I call him my baby great nephew, turned 21 years old. My Adam, who's in University of Maryland College now. So I can't believe I'm getting old now.
Well, Mazal Tov to him, and
Thank
Modim
you.
Anachnu Lach for those good things. Charlotte is grateful for driving safely through the storm today. Modim Anachnu Lach that you were safe, Charlotte. Roseanne visited the Brooklyn Botanic Garden for the first time since COVID and was awed by the colorful sight of early spring flowers, very early spring flowers that may have been fooled into thinking it is spring. Sylvia is grateful for the rest that she allowed herself. Who else is grateful for anything? Gerard. Wow, Mazal Tov. Gerard is celebrating his 53rd wedding anniversary next week. So that's wonderful. Yay. Anybody else? Okay. We are on page 176.
Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, O God, for the precious gift of life, wonder beyond words. The awareness of our hearts, our souls' eternal flame, the world with richness filled, beauty without and within. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, O God, for the precious gift of life, wonder beyond words. Adonai, your love abounds, your kindness never ends. May we walk in all your ways, by your love embraced. For all these gifts and more, Baruch El HaHodaot. Modim anachnu lach. We thank you, O God, for the precious gift of life, wonder beyond words, wonder beyond words.
We continue with our prayer for peace, Shalom Rav, page 178.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amacha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu עמך ישראל בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Baruch atah Adonai hamivarech et amo Yisrael b'shalom. We come now to our quiet prayer. If you have a prayer book, there are words on pages 180 and 181. If you can see the screen, there are words on the screen, but we can always use the words that are in our own heart. We continue quietly.
יהיו לרצון אמרי פי בהגיעו ליבי לפניך May the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Lord, my rock and my Redeemer. Amen.
We turn our thoughts now to those among us and those in our hearts who are ill and who are in need of healing of body, of mind, or of spirit. Our Misha Berach is on page 371 in the middle of the page. If you're on Zoom and have names to add for prayers for healing, you can put those in the chat and everyone will have an opportunity to add names out loud. We hold in our thoughts and in our hearts for healing this evening Dan Sasher, Ira Weiss, Allison Plummer, Rabbi Dara Lerner, Susan Sisler, Joellen Fox, Alan Fremer, Valerie Pace, George Landberg, Sarah Ratliff, Kenny Schweiger, Paul Gold, Leslie Hirsch, Dana Haitkin Nelson, Barbara Weiner, Joan Lifshitz, Ellen Greenberg, Genevieve Lightfoot, Amy Juskowitz Soonseller, Deanna Roth, Jonathan Falkowski, Martha and Ed Vincent, Ingrid Grosso, Audrey Cohen, Eddie DeAngelis, Vicky Lightmaker, Nettie Trommer, Mia Gannon, Jeff Abel, Monica Beyer, Patty and Erwin Cohen, Deborah Kosman, Jeffrey Schwimmer, Grace Schneider, Liz Yasuda, Mark and Paul Steiner, Celia Karp, Anne Marie Rogan, Marion Mandel, Sharon Zinn, Nicole Moskowitz, Evelyn Sten, Stephen Belay, Mike Wenzelberg, David Wyckoff, Joseph Mondano Sr., Linda and Howard Simca, Michelle Bracco, Ron Affronti, Rita Clark, Daniel Gurka, Jeremy Briel, Laura Castellano, Karen Vanderhorn, Stephen Rosen, Arlene Ribler, Gabriel Weisenthal, Elliot Drucker, Rosie and Luis Rios, Albert Galantner, Zita Novik. Matthew Abramowitz, Damian Colon, Jerome Taylor, Ed Robinson, Joanna Marie, Teresa O'Sullivan, Jimmy Jenkins, Chanel Camabach, Juliette Dale, Maureen Dale, Elena R.M., Warren Feliz, Sylvia Solva, DeAndre Wynn, Jennifer Magoob, Sarah West, Tamia Bethia Williams, Stacy and David Mauser, Hannah Paynes, Arlene Kukulis, Angela Reed, Judith Weiss, Joy Ojan, Merle Paisley, Kinte Gaskin, Dr. Helen Kramer, Dr. Stephen Jubileerer, Renee Bash, Marion Munns, Harriet Holtzman, Ernest Tornin-Casa, Ian Levitt, Lainey and Larry Vinico, Zizi Potsdam, Susan and Tony Vi, Laura Cricky, Jeannie Green, Brenda McBasey, Brenda Kitroser, Jesse Laban, Delphine Wolf, Barbara Babbitts, Susan Babbitts, Martin Babbitts, Pat Flood, Elliot Wolfsey, Cindy Rabinowitz, Roz Nadell, Marisha Chinsky, Dr. Craig Rosenbaum, Ann Kelly, Jackson and Tara Kushner, Shelley Samet, Harvey Convoy, Carol and Stevie Doppelt. Freema.
Thomas Marufis, Deborah Kelly, Martin Bennett, Phyllis O'Neill, Stacy Schneier, Arlene and Stephen Schneier, Alan Mandel, Elliot Drucker, Kathy's brother, Gabby. Thank you.
Anyone else on Zoom? Folks here in the room? Andrew? Janice? Alan? Mike? What? Carol Rose. Thank you. We include also all of those who have been wounded in service to our country or Israel, those who are suffering from COVID-19, those who have been hurt or lost loved ones in the terrible earthquakes in Turkey and Syria, those who have been hurt in other recent disasters, both natural and human created, including war and conflict around the world in Ukraine, Afghanistan, Syria, and so many other places. Page 371 in the middle of the page.
מי שברך אבותינו בקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source of strength who blessed the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. מי שברך אמותינו בקור הברכה לאבותינו Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. The Bible includes many passages and stories about human reproduction. The very first commandment in the Torah comes right after creation, when God tells humans, "Pru urvu," be fruitful and multiply. Many women throughout the Torah and Bible are described as barren, unable to have children, until God remembers them and opens their wombs. Our matriarchs, Sarah, Rebecca, and Rachel, all have difficulty conceiving, as does Hannah in the first book of Samuel, to name just a few. The National Council of Jewish Women has designated this Shabbat as Reproductive Rights Shabbat. The reason it's this week and not some other week is that in this week's Torah portion, Mishpatim, we read about the consequences if a pregnant woman is struck while two men are fighting and it causes a miscarriage. This commandment is among the many laws that are given in this Torah portion. We read, when men fight and one of them pushes a pregnant woman and a miscarriage results, but no other damage ensues, the one responsible shall be fined according as the woman's husband may exact from him, the payment to be based on reckoning. But if other damage ensues, the penalty shall be life for life, eye for eye, tooth for tooth, hand for hand, foot for foot, burn for burn, wound for wound, bruise for bruise. This is one of the primary texts that shows us how Judaism sees the status of a fetus. Because the penalty for the miscarriage is a fine, while damage done to the woman has much more serious consequences, we derive that a fetus does not have the status of a full person. Later, in the Babylonian Talmud, the rabbis rule that until 40 days gestation, a fetus is like water, basically nothing. Subsequently, Rabbi Yehuda Hanassi says a fetus is like a woman's thigh, that is, an appendage of the woman, like an arm or a leg. A fetus does not become a person until most of it has emerged from the woman's body. Until that point, the Talmud tells us the fetus may be cut apart if necessary to save the life of the person giving birth. Because of these texts and rulings, Judaism permits abortion if it is necessary to save the life of the pregnant person, who is usually a woman, but today might be non-binary or a trans man. The concept of what is considered to endanger the life of a woman can be broadly construed to include mental anguish as well as physical harm. Rabbi Jacob Emden, a prominent German Orthodox rabbi, wrote in approximately 1750 in answer to a halakhic question about the permissibility of abortion. The questioner asks about an adulterous married woman who is pregnant, and this is a good question. It appears to me appropriate to permit her to abort. And even in the case of a legitimate fetus, there is reason to be lenient if there is great need, as long as the fetus has not begun to emerge, even if the mother's life is not in jeopardy, but only so as to save her from woe associated with it that would cause her great pain. In 1991, Rabbi Aharon Lichtenstein, an influential French-American Israeli Orthodox rabbi, wrote, "Here it is clear that saving a life is not the only sanction for permitting an abortion. It would seem to me that issues such as kavod habriot, dignity of persons, shalom habayit, domestic peace, and tsa'ar, pain, which all carry significant Jewish legal weight in other contexts, should be considered in making these decisions." Rabbi Avi Shafran is an Orthodox rabbi who is Director of Public Affairs for Agudat Yisrael of America, which is an organization representing Haredi Orthodox Jews. His position is described in an article in Mother Jones magazine. While he and some Orthodox Jews agree the scripture shows a mother's life takes precedence over a fetus, many Orthodox Jews only endorse abortions when a rabbi determines a woman's life is in jeopardy. He points out that the miscarriage in our Torah portion this week is accidental and says to actively choose to end the potential life that is a fetus when there is no threat to the mother's life is a matter of great gravity and not permitted by Jewish law. A responsum, an answer to a question of Jewish law from 1985 by the Reform Movement, says, the Reform Movement has had a long history of liberalism on many social and family matters. We feel that the pattern of tradition until the most recent generation has demonstrated a liberal approach to abortion and has definitely permitted it in case of any danger to the life of the mother. That danger may be physical or psychological. When this occurs at any time during the pregnancy, we would not hesitate to permit an abortion. This would also include cases of incest and rape if the mother wishes to have an abortion. It matters what Jewish tradition and Jewish authorities have to say about the permissibility of abortion because in our country today, the right of pregnant people to make the choice to have an abortion is being severely limited or completely taken away based on a religious idea, not a scientific one. Since Roe v. Wade was overturned by the Supreme Court last year, 13 states have enacted laws restricting or eliminating abortion. What these laws have in common is that they consider a fetus to be a person, to be ensouled, to have a soul already. That is a religious idea from a segment of Christianity, and not all Christians share it. Science can tell us about fetal development and viability outside the womb, but not when the fetus gains the status of a person equal to its mother. What this means is that a Catholic and evangelical Christian definition of personhood is being imposed on Jews, Muslims, Buddhists, mainline Protestant Christians, people of other faiths, and people of no faith who do not share that religion-based definition of personhood. As lawsuits in several states in which activist rabbis are involved are claiming, this is a violation of religious freedom, which is guaranteed by the Constitution. One religion or a segment of a religion may not impose its beliefs on another, on people of a different religion, through secular law. Many consider abortion restrictions based on a particular religious belief about when personhood begins to be the government promoting one religion over others, which the Constitution prohibits. Orthodox Rabbi Avi Shafran, who I mentioned earlier and whose beliefs about abortion are very conservative, nevertheless says he is concerned that anti-abortion laws may infringe on a woman's religious right to make decisions on such important matters with her rabbi. I worry that some of the more radical proposals giving a fetus the status of a born person would hamper the religious right of a Jewish woman to end her pregnancy on the decision of a rabbi, he says. At the same time, I bemoan the treatment of developing lives in utero as mere foreign tissue to be disposed of at will. This goes to the question of choice and who gets to make the decision of whether or not to terminate a pregnancy. Those who are pro-choice often say the matter should be between the pregnant person and their doctor. That's what we hear the most often. Rabbi Shafran says between a woman and her rabbi. Either way, the government is not involved, and over 70% of the people in our country believe that the government should not be in the equation of that decision. Rabbi Becky Silverstein is a co-founder of the Trans Halakha Project, and he is probably ideologically as far away from Rabbi Avi Shafran as it is possible to be. However, they may find common ground in something Rabbi Silverstein wrote about Jewish law in 2022. The discussion of who is permitted to eat on Yom Kippur, the Jewish Day of Atonement, has much relevant wisdom to offer. Most Jewish people observe Yom Kippur by incorporating prayer into a set of rituals that includes a 25-hour fast. But what happens if someone is ill and cannot fast on Yom Kippur? The Talmud invokes a verse from the biblical book of Proverbs, Lev Yodea Marat Nafsho, or the heart knows the bitterness of the soul, to teach that the sick person is actually the expert who should make this decision. The text of the Talmud even says that nobody can possess more expertise on such a question than the sick person themselves. In this way, Judaism's principle of Lev Yodea Marat Nafsho, the heart knows the bitterness of its soul, authorizes as experts both pregnant people who want to end a pregnancy and trans people seeking gender-affirming care or the right to live as their true selves. It demands that we acknowledge or that we honor the self-knowledge of those individuals. For me, this is very compelling. The idea that Jewish law tells us that we know our own bodies best, and therefore what we do with them is up to each of us. I want to also acknowledge on this Reproductive Rights Shabbat, which falls during Black History Month, that reproductive rights are not only about the right to end a pregnancy. Other issues, including access to abortion services, forced and coercive sterilization, reproductive tract infections, and infant and maternal mortality and morbidity, impact women of color, especially Black women, most severely. Black women, regardless of social class, are far more likely to die in childbirth than white women. This, too, is a reproductive rights issue that needs to be addressed. May we always pursue justice in the realm of reproductive rights and everywhere that we find injustice. Amen and Shabbat Shalom.
Open your eyes and look for someone or some work for the sake of one who needs a little time, a little friendship, a little sympathy. 'Cause God has no other hands but ours to hold and comfort. God has no other arms but ours to carry the fallen. God has no other ears to listen to the tears of the lonely, no other mouths but ours to share words of kindness. And God has no other hearts but ours to reach out with our love to all who are in need, who wait and wait for it to come from us. Open your eyes and look for someone or some work for the sake of one who needs a little time, a little friendship, a little sympathy, and who waits and waits and waits.
We are turning now to the Aleinu, beginning on page 586 at the bottom of the page. If you're able, I invite you to rise.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך המלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגופן מרומים, הוא אלוהינו הנוד, אמת מלכנו אפס עולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות על לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
You may be seated. We turn our thoughts now to those who are no longer with us, our loved ones who have died in the past days or weeks or months, or in past years at this time of the year. If you are on Zoom and you have names of anyone you're saying the Mourners Kaddish for, you can put them in the chat. And I have displayed our yahrzeit list to the screen. We remember those who have died in the past year. Charles Dentrone, Murray Schechter, John Honan, Dottie Weiss Bickman, Harold Shepard Jr., Eva Braxmajer, Madeline Hyatt, Ed Friedman, Ronald Homan, Erwin Bernstein, Shirley Amrani, Harry Goldberg, Lisa Friedman, Eleanor Teplitz, Patricia Christensen, Thea Platt Glasser, Sharon Cooper, William Fritz, Bernard Cohen, Lucy Palazzolo, Blair Ford, Shlomo Nakash, Arlene Scher, Abraham Finkel, Ron Cricky, Mimi Karp, Rochelle Rolnick, Elaine Drucker, Matthew Brunner, Maddie Rosenbaum, Myron Jacobson, Lester Schenker, John Belay, Yefim Polyak, the Reverend Eleanor Lee McGee Street, and Arthur Goldstein. Included on our yahrzeit list today are William Figueroa, Diane Figueroa's brother-in-law, Eugene Freed, Bob Freed's brother, Corinne Grauer, Diane Schenker's friend, Nathan Hausner, Deanna Roth's father, Edwin Hutner, Jan Hutner's father, Minnie Katzman, Leonora Katzman's mother, Samuel Merritt, Ann Schwartz's father, Stella Roth, Deanna Roth's mother-in-law, Philip Schwartzman, Ruth Levine's grandfather, Sidney Sofian, Gerard Sofian's father, and Leo Wang, Harvey Wang's father. Murray Schechter, Murray Schechter is also on our list. Herbert Babitz, Paul Markowitz, George Politis, Jean Anmuth, Joseph Levitt, Wanda Walensky, Belle Radum, and Dr. Lois Evans. Does anyone else on Zoom have names to add? Okay. If you're in the room and you have names to add, please rise or raise your hand. Alan?
What happened? She didn't see me? No, anyways.
Nathan? Thank you.
Rabbi,
Yes,
La-
Rima.
hi. Lata Bloom, she was a member of PTBAS. She was a longtime member of PTBAS. She was a wonderful, wonderful lady. She was really very sweet lady.
Yes, I think this is her first yard site because
Yes. Yes,
she
it
was
is.
on our list of those who have died in the past year for the
Oh,
past year.
Okay, I just saw her name on the list.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
sorry.
No, it's okay. Charlotte?
Yes, I wanted to mention Stanley Platkin, who was a devoted member of one of our older temples. He was a very good man, very active in the Brotherhood.
Thank you so much. We include also all of those who have died from COVID-19, all of those thousands who have died in Turkey and Syria from the earthquakes. And we include those who have died in terror attacks recently and in war, famine, disaster, natural and human created, or alone and homeless on the streets of our cities. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 598. I invite you to rise and join in or to participate according to your own custom. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'bizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mivorach leolam ulalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yit hadar, v'yit aleh, v'yit halal, shemei dekudisha, b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu ve'el kol Yisrael, v'yimru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to the bereaved wherever they may be. And let us say,
Amen.
Amen. You may be seated.
Oseh shalom b'merumav, v'ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu.
A few announcements before we conclude. Tomorrow, there is no religious school due to midwinter break. However, we do have Biyachad at 10 o'clock on Zoom and in person, and services at 11 a.m., also on Zoom and in person. Religious school starts up again on March 4th. Women of Beshert, a sisterhood organization, on Tuesday, February 21st, are hosting Kelly Whitehead, who is a fourth-year rabbinical student at HUC. She will be speaking on her journey to the rabbinate, and she also grew up right here in our congregation, and her mom is Emily Whitehead. So a lot of you know Emily, but you know, Kelly is her own person and a grown-up and awesome. So that's definitely going to be worth your time. It's on Zoom and everybody is invited. This is not just for women, I am told. We are going to have a Purim spiel this year. Is it going to be on Zoom and in person? I don't know yet. But if you want to be in the Purim spiel, show up for rehearsal at 6:15 p.m. on Thursday, February 23rd. And we will have another rehearsal the following week, I think on Wednesday. It's on the temple calendar. And then we're going to do the spiel on March 6th. And it's going to be great because March 6th is Erev Purim. And so at 7:15 p.m. on that day, which is a Monday, rather like 3 years ago was a Monday, and it was Purim, which was like almost the last thing that we did before everything shut down. But we're going to have our Purim spiel and Megillah reading abbreviated on March 6th. March 4th is going to be with the kiddos. So the religious school, but everybody is, of course, welcome to come to that as well. We're going to have the family Megillah reading. March 4th is going to be a bit different because we also have a Brit Mitzvah that day. So we're going to start services first at 10 o'clock and have the Brit Mitzvah Shabbat morning service. Then we're going to go from that into the family Megillah reading. And after that, there will be a Purim carnival to which everyone is invited. Okay, Torah study Thursday at 1 o'clock with me on Zoom. Israeli dance Thursday, 7:30 p.m. Tat Shabbat has resumed. It says here it's at 10:30 every Friday. I'm moving it to 10 o'clock. I don't know if that's actually relevant to anyone who's here right now. The Interfaith Coalition book discussion will be at 7 p.m. on February 28th on Zoom. The book is The Netanyahus by Joshua Cohen. And save the date for our gala luncheon honoring past and present treasurers Helene Smith and Jennifer Tattenbaum. It will be at 12:30 p.m. on Sunday, June 11th at Gargiulo's. Reservation forms and journal ad forms have been emailed to you at least twice already, and there are hard copies outside of Alice's office. I think that's it. Thank you, Janice, and thank you, Linda Kushner-Silverman, for doing the honors today. And we're going to close with Adon Olam. So I invite you once again, if you're able, to rise. Page 632.
Adon Olam Hashem Malach B'terem kol yitzin nifra V'yitnasa v'chefzo kol Azay melech shemo nikra V'yacharei kiklot hakol Levado yimlok nora V'hu haya v'hu hovei V'hu yeh b'tifara V'hu echad v'ein sheni Laham shelo lehakbira Page 625 B'li rishit, b'li tachlit B'lo ha'oz v'ha'misra V'hu eli v'chai goli V'tzochem li b'yetzara V'hu nisi u'manos li Minat kosi b'yom ekra B'yado Afkidro Adonai li velo ira.
I'm sorry I gave out the wrong page number, and then I also didn't scroll despite Janice gesturing vigorously toward me.
But I did call out the number.
Yes, you did. Thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
Yivarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichuneka. Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Amen.
May God bless you and keep you. May God's face shine on you and be gracious to you. May God lift God's face towards you and give you peace. Amen.
Amen.
And before we go to the Oneg, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Shabbat Shalom, Rabbi Heidi.
Good
Shabbat Shalom,
Sabbath, everyone.
Rabbi. Thank you, Noni. The music was gorgeous
Shabbat
tonight.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom, everybody.
Yeah, especially the
Shabbat
music.
Shalom.
So beautiful tonight. Thank you so much.
Good to see
Shabbat
everyone.
shalom,
Thank you, Rabbi.
everybody.
Have a
Hi,
good
Eslin.
Shabbat.
Hey, where's this? Shabbat
There's you.
shalom, everybody. Yes,
Shabbat
the music was
shalom.
very good. It was very nice. Rabbi, you said also there was a conversion service tomorrow?
What?
Conversion service. Did I hear
There's a
that right?
conversion ceremony during services tomorrow if Kendra is able to be here.
Ah,